Yeah, if you're asking me, Molly, if I've changed my mind, at this point, you're going to make me give you an honest answer.
Please.
I got to say yes. Stephen A.,
We're
that's
so
why I held
surprised.
off
We're so
answering your
surprised.
question definitively when you asked me in the previous, during the previous topic. And the reason is you have to favor, at this point, Boston to get by them up 2 games, particularly the way Cleveland has looked. I do think LeBron, I agree with Stephen A., I agree with you that LeBron is going to do what he's got to do to win Game 3. But the question I had during the previous topic was, can he sustain it in Game 4? And then the question is, even if LeBron can sustain it, meaning attacking the basket more, not settling for jump shots and all that, and creating for his teammates that way, even if he can sustain that, can his teammates sustain consecutive games against a good defensive team who's really well coached? I don't think they can. They have not given me the evidence that they can in this series. And even in terms of Ty Lue, the way he's using his guys, J.R. Smith is sometimes on the floor when Kyle Korver clearly should be. Jeff Green is getting too many minutes. Like, it just looks like a discombobulated team that I have to admit, when you said they had Toronto's number, it certainly appears that way. I'm not sure if it's just a psychological whammy or if the matchup with Toronto was that favorable to Cleveland. But I don't think that I think the Toronto series, you have to kind of, table and say this is not really indicative of the Cavs. This is specific to the Cavs versus Toronto. Then if you look at Indiana and you look at Boston, boy, it's going to take if LeBron's going to do it, he needs some help. His teammates have not shown that. So at this moment, yes, I'm switching my pick. I believe Boston wins the series.
Well, I'm so surprised. I wish I could act like I'm surprised, but I predicted. I knew that was coming. What I will say to you is this, though. Watching Boston on the road, I don't think it's time for that. I think it's premature to change your pick. Personally, I think when you look at the Boston Celtics on the road, I'm not saying, again, we all knew they were the better team, just like we knew Toronto was the better team. Nobody is surprised that Boston looks impressive and that Boston looks better. What we're surprised about is the alarming ineptitude of the rest of the Cavaliers around what LeBron James has been doing for them. And we're saying to ourselves, what the hell is going on here? But I'm of the mindset, again, the first 2 games were in Boston. Now that you're going to have a situation where the game is in Cleveland, let's see what Boston does on the road. It's premature to jump ship on Cleveland, even as good as Boston has looked, because Boston doesn't look away from Boston the way they look when they're in Boston.
You're right, but let me ask you a question, Stephen A. Let me ask you a question based on what you've seen so far. I don't want to switch my pick, but if I'm asked point blank, what's my honest feeling right now? That's my honest feeling. Let me ask you a question. Who do you see as more likely? I agree Boston has struggled on the road, not against Philadelphia to the extent they did, or against Milwaukee, but let me ask you give me the same kind of honest answer I just gave you about how I'm feeling about it. Who's more likely to win on the road in this series, do you think? Boston or Cleveland?
Well, Boston's more likely to win on the road. The difference is that if Cleveland protects its home court, let's just say, for example, Cleveland wins games 3, 4, and then ultimately there's a 6th game in Cleveland. If Cleveland protects their home court, then I have LeBron in a game 7. And you know how I feel about LeBron in game 7.
Yep.
Fair.
By the way, I think that is sound.
So that's the whole point.
I think that is sound logic. I would add that the other thing that's been shown through these playoffs with Boston, my star system, 5-star MVP caliber, 4 all-star, 3 starter, etc. And Boston, without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, it's like, well, they lost a 4.5, 5-star guy in Kyrie and a 4-star guy in Hayward. They don't have those kind of players on the team. Yes, they do, because Horford is more than just a 4-star player. He's playing these playoffs like he's approaching 5 or 4.5 stars. And the other guys, Tatum and Brown, and those two, just like take those two, those guys are not just starters. They're trending towards all-stars. Like every player in these playoffs are blossoming in front of our eyes for Boston.
But Max, Max Kellerman, first of all, stop using the word logic. I know I call you Spot Kellerman, but apply the logic to you. I don't need all of that logic. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I like Al Horford a lot. he can really, really play. But if you listen to Max Kellerman, Al Horford's averaging 35 and 13. The brother is averaging 17 and 7 in this series. He looks good. He looks impressive. But he's averaging 17 and 7. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not like the brother's going out there and drop 35 or 40. You know what I'm saying? I know he looks good. I know that numbers don't tell the whole. Hold on. I let you speak. Zip it. Hold on. I am in no way trying to minimize the impact that Al Horford has had. It has been impressive, but it's a collective effort. Marcus Smart has been impressive. He's not averaging big numbers. Jason Tatum has been impressive. He's not averaging big numbers. My key play in this series, if you recall, I said Jaylen Brown, because he's the one guy with the athleticism and the skill set to make that kind of difference. Al Horford is a steady, reliable, veteran presence who has lost to LeBron James on at least 4 occasions in the postseason. But all I'm saying is, he's averaging 17 and 7. And if you listen to if you didn't watch the games and you listen to Max Kellerman, you would think that Al Horford's averaging 35 and 20.